Check one, two, three. Hey everybody, it's Michael Helms, also known as Michael the Sound Guy, and this is the Location Sound Podcast. You know, each episode we talk with location sound mixers, boom ops, and other industry pros about the various aspects of recording sound on location, whether it's for feature and independent films, TV commercials, interviews, any time where dialogue from actors is recorded. I started my career in the recording studios in New York City with some of the big artists back in the day, and later on projects for networks like HBO, Sci-Fi Channel, and the Cartoon Network. As time went by, I got out of the studio and began working in production sound. Whether you're a seasoned veteran or just starting out, thanks for joining us. Okay, today we're talking with a production sound mixer based out of Kansas City, Missouri, and also London, England. Please welcome Jessie Van Der Vyver.
How's it going, Michael?
Hey, great to have you on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
So let's start it by telling us what's in your audio kit.
What's in my audio kit? My main kit is a Sound Devices A20, and I'm rocking 4 channels of the A20 wireless. I have 2 A20 transmitters, 2 A20 mini transmitters that I'm using, and then I have 4 channels of Lectrosonics. I'm using 2 of the fully digital ones with a DCR 822 and then a SRC in block A1. Everything's in A1 for me. And then for IFBs and timecode, for IFBs I'm using just the Sennheiser G3 and G4 in-ear monitors. And timecode I'm using Ambient recording, NanoLockits, and their mini LockIt as like my master LockIt.
Yeah, what lav mics do you like?
I love DPA all the way. I'm using some 6060s on everything. I have a few 4060s, and my backups for stunts or a lot of like sports things are always Cause 11Ds. Those are things that can definitely get slammed and still pick up audio.
All right. And what boom mics do you like?
So I love Schoeps for everything. I have a CMIT 5U that I love as like my main boom, but I do have the MK41 capsules that I'm using with their the mini Colette preamps. I have those for needing wider pickup pattern, definitely. And then I just recently bought a DPA 4017C, trying it out with post-processing between like the DPA mics, and I like it for more of the narrative, short-form stuff that I've been doing.
Okay. So you feel like it's pretty comparable with the DPA lavs?
Definitely. A lot of the work with the CMIT has been like reality or sports stuff, and like that's the standard that I've been around. It has a better rejection than the 4017, but cutting between like boom and lav, you do notice like a loss in quality. So it just depends. If I'm doing post audio, I know what I want to go with. So, but I like try to deliver the best for who's doing post down the line.
All right. Anything else in your kit that's kind of unique or different?
I'm using a Power Buddy from, I think, PSC, just like the little 1 in, 3 out power unit that's powering everything in my bag. It's been with me around the world and still ticking.
Well, speaking of around the world, you spend time working in the U.S. and the U.K.?
Yeah, as much as I can. The UK work is like little talking head things, nothing to really write home about. But I have dual citizenship and trying to build my connections in the UK. I have family out there. I stay out there as much as I can. I've worked on a few like short films that I've shot out there, and the crews in England and the crews in America, it's all work. And if you're having fun, it's fun.
Well, kind of tell us how you ended up in sound, because this isn't where you started, right?
Yes and no. So like I started as a musician, being around the equipment, and my dad was a radio DJ in Memphis, Tennessee, And I would go there and mess with the knobs and stuff and get in trouble. The radio station ended up banning me as a toddler because of touching things. So I've been around sound equipment, but not so much this world. I learned to mix front of house sound for bands, and then went to monitor teching for live events, then to broadcast sound for live events. There's a couple of concert halls and event centers that they would bring in like a broadcast truck. And I worked my way in with this particular organization, was able to like learn the importance of mic placement for live, and what's good for live isn't always good for like when you're trying to do a mix down later. And so like balancing those sort of realities. And I worked as a engineer for a couple of summers for a local studio in Kansas City. And from there, met some people that were doing music videos. And I was like, hey, music videos are fun. I'm a musician. I do like the mixing stuff. Yeah, let me work with you guys. So I PA'd with them for like a couple years. And then I was like, hey, I can make money doing this. And I'm making more as a PA than I am as the engineer that's also sweeping every night at the studio. And they're like, yeah, you can also grip. You can also, you want to learn about lighting? How about you come set up these light stands and these lights? And so I learned how to do grip and electric. And then from there, just like the community in Kansas City is big on like, hey, if you want to do it, like just learn it and then try it out on something small. I was like, cool, I want to try out camera. And so I worked in camera department, and I was like a PA camera assistant into second AC to first AC to cam opping, worked up that way. And then there's a DP in town that was just like, you have a background in audio. Why aren't you doing audio? I was like, you're right. Why aren't I doing audio? And I like saved up money, and I bought a Zoom F4 in and some Lectrosonics used. And within like 2 months, I was like, I need a 633. And so bought a 633 and more Lectrosonics lavs. And that was like happening in like 2017 was like when I was like, okay, cool. No, I'm fully doing audio. And it's been audio since then.
Okay. Going back to the A20s, the little minis, are you enjoying those?
Yeah, I like them a lot, especially if it's like a long run and I need to power it with other batteries. I like having that option if something happens where like the batteries I have don't charge, or because I've had that issue where you're traveling a lot, you fall asleep, you forget to charge like one type of battery. So having like AAAs as like a backup are great. Small form factor, they can fit in like the nape of the back. They can easily hide anywhere on the body. So I like them.
Now, are you thinking about getting a Nexus Go?
I'm definitely thinking about getting a Nexus Go. Just the ability to control everything from one unit is great.
Yeah, I was able to demo some A20 minis, and I loved them. I mean, they were great, and the fact that you could, adjust the gain forward and put them to sleep and everything remotely, that's really very convenient.
So good. I do enjoy the gain forward that Sound Devices is like incorporated, and I put it through its tests. Definitely need to have the right mics for it, because if you're using mics that are too sensitive, like you're not getting the full movement of the gain fader. I've definitely had some loud talent that are more from theater that have gone into narrative that even with them trying to be quiet, they're not quiet. But yeah, knowing the right mics for the right equipment is definitely good.
Well, let's talk about some of your projects that you've worked on. You did some Pfizer commercials?
Yeah, I did a few of the Pfizer commercials that were most recent within the past 9 months. We did audio. It was a mixture of for social and for nationwide television. That shoot was a fun one. They had like 3 to 4 shots for each commercial. There was one day that, due to scheduling, we ended up shooting during a cicada storm. So we had to scrap that scene and shoot it the following day. But like how it goes on production and just on the day, if you don't make your day, like sometimes things happen and you have to pivot.
Were they quieter on the second day? Or?
On the second day, yes. We also moved from a lake. They rewrote the particular beat from being on a lake to it being at a cafe. It was one of the ones where the talent is showing like, we got our shot. Get your shot today. And they were doing like a fit check, like showing their like what they're wearing today and where they got it from. So that was going to be like they're out on a romantic date doing a fit check. Now it's like we're at a cafe having a fit check.
Any particular challenges, miking challenges during that process, or pretty straightforward?
It was pretty straightforward, like miking to the sternum. Depending on like the layers of clothing, like I bounce between miking just right on the seam of the neck, depending on the person's voice, and then straight to the sternum. If it's tighter clothing, I try to go sternum. With miking women, I really love the bra clip that Haida mic. Their bra clip is phenomenal. It's great. And when I'm miking up anyone, I go through that spiel of like, hey, you can mic yourself or I can mic you. I know where I want to go. Like putting everything in talent's court, just like for safety for everyone. And the bra clip is great because everyone is like, oh, I love this. This is great. And then just immediately mic'd and it sounds great. No clothing noise. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's one of my go-tos as well. I love them. Easy for people to understand and help you with. And yeah, I do the same. Are there any other expendables you like to do when you're miking talent?
I love top stick. Like top stick's great if you can get it onto a person before they start sweating. Depending on their clothing, you can put it on clothing where it doesn't cause any noise. And like if it's not wet when you stick it on there, like it's going to stay the entire day. I've mic'd up some of the Chiefs players and I've mic'd up some of our like local other sports teams, like with them doing things for advertisement, running around, and the mic stays put, no issues. So that, and then the 3M skin tape. Easy tear and everything for like running wires everywhere.
Do you usually tape to skin?
I try not to. Just the more that I've talked with certain talent and like things like that, if I do have an issue where like I'm hearing clothing rustle, I'm like, hey, I'm sorry, we're gonna go to skin. Sorry about this. So get a little alcohol wipe and like wipe where you're gonna mic them and then stick it right on.
You know, oftentimes I'll do, with a bra clip, I will take some top stick and just maybe tear it in half and then wrap that around the bra clip sometimes. And then it just helps.
Oh, that's a good idea.
You know, keep it in place. You know, they tuck it in, they can put it just inside the bra, and so that's always a plus too.
I was on a show as an A2 with a mixer. His name's Adam Doria, and he showed me this new thing that he's been doing, which is one of the tiny like baby pins. And he's like has a little bit of moleskin wrapped around it. So like the mic has a little bit of an air gap from the baby pin. And he's like putting that like right on the collar for some of the talent. And me monitoring it, I'm like, that's also a great technique too. And like he's used it on like male and female talent and like no issues there. I think Dancing with the Stars, their mixer, like had an article where like in the BTS you can see that he also did that. So I'm like, this is cool. Like it's like getting simpler and simpler.
Yeah, one of our previous guests, Jimmy Saiska, he talked about doing that with a safety pin, and it's one of his favorite mounting setups. So, well, cool. Now you also know LaRon Cooper?
Yeah.
So how did you guys meet?
Just being in the Kansas City film community, we're small enough that everyone knows everyone, but big enough that we all barely see one another. Him and I like worked on a few short films together and then commercials and stuff. He's had me boom op with him and like he's rented gear from me before. Like it's fun. And like we're always messaging each other back and forth when something new drops, like, oh, hey, did you see this thing that Sound Devices has? Or you see this new mic? Like, check out the examples of that. He just recently got announced as a brand ambassador for Sound Devices, so that's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. That's awesome. Now, you've done some stuff with NFL Films?
Yeah, so when I'm not booked on other things and I'm available, we've done Mic'd Up is a couple of the things that I've worked with them where we mic up a player or mic up Coach Reed, and they're shooting like long lens sort of stuff of them while they're doing either practice or the actual games. I think I did Mic'd Up for QB, which was the Netflix show. The clip and the part that I was working with the A1 from NFL Films, and I was capturing like backup. Because how they like to do things is they'll have someone covering the game on the field, and then sometimes someone is covering something else. But on that particular one, we both were capturing the same audio. They're using, I think it's the Shure QX1Ds, like the thin player mics. So they're using that for like when they're miking up quarterbacks or players that are playing, because there's a very particular way you need to place the mic so they don't get injured. I wasn't actually placing the mic in that particular instance because they had a very specific way they wanted it. But like, yeah, it's a lot of foam that they put on the pads to protect the mic and the player. From what I remember, it was a Cos 11D that they were using that just like sat right on the thing. So like player put it on, didn't even think about it. When I'm miking up like coach or one of the other coaches, they let me use my mics. And so I was using 6060s with a bubble bee and some top stick and just put it right on coach's sweater because he never takes his sweater off. And then transmitter in his pocket because he's like, don't put anything else on me. So when you're miking up coaches, you kind of have to respect like there's certain level of boundaries. But like with the player mics, it's just right there on their pads.
Nice. You also worked on the film Head Count. Tell us about that one.
So Head Count was, we were working with a Australian production company and partnership with a Kansas City production company. That one was a lot of fun. It's like a kind of suspense neo-Western is what they call it, following a particular character. So lots of like cowboy boots and cowboy attire and rustly pearl snaps. The fun thing with that particular one is they ended up doing Skeleton Crew and not knowing they needed audio for some things. And so on that particular one, I think there's 3 scenes that the producer was actually using a boom mic and getting audio. And I'm like, I wish I knew. But for the most part, that entire film is 6060s and A20 minis is like the gear that I was using. There was nothing really challenging except for the bar scene that we had. There was a bar next door that was also playing music. So we had to hang up sound blankets on every doorway and over every vent that we could. That was a fun one. We did a few days in a process trailer. That actually was the same process trailer they used for the movie Twister. Fun little fact. Like
that's from how many years ago was that?
95.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. Have you ever had any DPAs get damaged?
Yes, actually, on that one. In the car scene, the main talent, I was using one of the DPA 4099s, so like the gooseneck mics. I had a plant mic in the back of the car, and then I had 2 plant mics that were the MK41s in the front. So one under the steering wheel and one on the gear shifter aimed at one of the talents. So he goes from the back seat to the front seat. So when he was moving from the back seat, he like changed movement and ended up kicking the mic, and like it ripped the suspension on the thing and bent the diaphragm a bit. Oh. I was like, no, no. We had planned it a certain way, and then like when we started rolling, he changed it. So it's like you put it in this particular spot and then got messed up. Now, mics that I put on people, I just had one break. I was on a film that was running for 18 days. And of course, when you're hitting OT, everyone's a little snippy or spicy. And the particular talent we had was annoyed and like pulled the mic up. It like ripped the micro dot connector because it was like right there, connected to the transmitter. And I was like, no, wait, let me undo it before you pull, and ended up just ripping it out.
Oh gosh.
So the casualties of war, I guess.
Exactly. You also worked on Heartland Docks. Tell us about that one. What is it?
So Heartland Docks is a Disney Plus and Nat Geo show, and we're spending time in a veterinarian office in the tri-state area of Nebraska, Iowa. I'm trying to remember the other state. Like, we're just right on the tip of it. They service like a 300-mile radius because they're one of the only veterinarians that work with small animals and farm animals. Most of the vets in that area will only work on big animals. One day you might have someone's parrot come in. The next day you have a rabbit. I think there was one day we had iguanas. But yeah, I was on it as like a day player that ended up working for 2 months and finishing out the season. My good friend Adam was booked on another thing, and the show ended up going a lot longer than they originally intended. And so they had me on, and it was a lot of fun. I was using their productions kit, and they had a Scorpio with, if I remember correctly, I think we had either 8 or 12 channels of Lectrosonics. We were using SRCs as our receivers. So we were sitting with 6 of those in the bag. Lots of fun following those. Like, everyone in the office was mic'd up. We had 2 camera people, and so we would just follow the story, slate everything, because we had like cameras hidden like in the ceiling everywhere. So follow around the AC as they're slating every camera that's hiding, and then get into the scene. Lots of fun.
What slate do you use?
So I currently am using a TS3. I'm just workhorse, and it's great. I'm still feeling out if I want to get an ambient one or if I want to get a TSC. I like the backlight option on it. Definitely good for a lot of the reality stuff, but for a few of the reality shows that I've like hopped on, they have a TSC that they're using. So on Heartland Docks, like, it was Productions TSC.
All right. You did something with Melissa Etheridge, a documentary for her?
Yeah, I did audio for the documentary that Shark Pig Productions was shooting in Topeka. They have been following her for a minute, telling all of her story. My aspect was her being in a penitentiary, a women's correctional facility in Topeka. And like the point that they had there was she had been writing back and forth and had a correspondence with some of the women there. And them getting to meet her in person and her spending time with them is what we were capturing. And she put on a concert for the women there. And so we were there for, I think, 3 days filming with her and with the women. And like, I think that's like the 3rd or 4th time that I've like worked in a jail or a correctional facility. It was super fun and super chill. And this particular one let me actually lav up the women, and so that was great because we had clean audio and it wasn't just me standing there with a boom the entire time.
Were there any particular restrictions as you guys are getting in and out with gear?
Yep. Like when you're going into a correctional facility, you have to have everything listed down to like how many batteries you have. So at the time I was wasting money and buying fresh lithium batteries and using them so I could get the full 12 of the advertised time. And I had to like list out, okay, I used this many batteries and this many are dead, like as I was leaving. So it was a whole thing, like, and within the scheduling, they like allotted an hour for crew to get through security. So that was fine. I think that's like the first time that I was like, okay, I probably have too many wires in my like extra wires bag. I have too many XLRs that are unneeded, like in this. It was a nice spring cleaning for me.
Interesting. Now, did you record her singing personally, or?
I did not. So they had an entire Pro Tools setup that was tracking everything. I think they were using MADI is what I saw, like a MADI system there. I was just capturing her audio because she was laved up even while she was singing, because for the particular documentary, they wanted to capture her interacting with the band and interacting with the crowd, like when she wasn't on the actual mic. The fun thing with that particular documentary is she had written a song and then the band learned it in less than 48 hours. And so they were performing a particular song that she had written. So like there was a lot of chatter that they had in between songs trying to like, okay, this is what we're doing. This is how we're going to actually do this. It was fun.
And you got all that?
Yeah, I got that.
Nice. All right, I'm looking at more things that you've worked on. The Devil Comes to Kansas City. What was that?
Yeah, that's a kind of horror/action film. I was second unit and on the pickup days for that. And they had a lot of pickup days. We like pickup days. We like getting paid. I don't think it's on there now, but I worked with that director in Des Moines on a film called Winterset as well. So like he has a particular trilogy that he's trying to get through of like violence in the Midwest.
You had mentioned that you try to work on an indie no-budget gig once a month. Talk to us about that.
Since I had people kind of take a chance on me and like teach me how to be a professional within the industry and learn how to like set etiquette and things like that, I wanted to kind of reinvest into like the community that I kind of came up in within this profession. So I kind of make myself available to creatives in the area. I'm a union audio op. I'm a professional. Like I do that, but like I also shoot. I also do that. So like I'm just like I'm available. I want to help make art. Is kind of where I'm at with that. And there's people like in Kansas City that took the time with me, like within audio, like Daniel Bowersox, Tyler Blatchert, and Adam Doria were like the ones that kind of invested in me and took the time in me, and they're big on making art. And so I was like, as a good human who gives back, share your knowledge freely and like help out.
Yeah. I do a lot of little, I say a lot, but I do work on a lot of like the low budget or the student films. And I love to do that. And I love to, a lot of times they'll provide me a boom op, and most of the time they've never done it before. So I just kind of walk through. You can get in closer.
Yeah. It's okay.
And especially on film, student projects, you can mess up. No one's going to freak out, So those are like perfect places to kind of, especially when the whole crew is volunteer.
Definitely. You have to learn where the stakes are not high. Even when the stakes are high, it's like we're not saving people's lives. We're just capturing moving pictures. Like, it's okay.
Exactly. Well, as we wrap up, are there any final words of advice to share with maybe somebody just getting started in production sound?
Learn gain staging. Learn to use your ears. Experiment off the clock as much as possible. And always ask questions. And have a good attitude. That's the advice that I would give.
So true. All right, I want to say a big thanks to Jessie Van Der Vyver for being on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
I'd like to say thanks to everyone for listening. If you have questions, send an email to locationsoundpodcast@gmail.com. The Location Sound Podcast is part of the Audio Podcast Alliance, featuring a hand-picked selection of the very best podcasts about sound. Be sure to hear the latest episodes from our friends in the community at audiopodcast.org. Until next time, remember, sound is half the picture.